I dream about it. I'm in a gunfight. I got a gun, but I can't find any ammo that fit it.
Many times I woke up at night, agitated, having that bad dream, and that bad dream is seeing Nick Graham shot through the 2 panes of glass.
He had a plan to kill a police officer.
This was a total screw up from the word go, but it could have been worse.
A lot of good guys doing a lot of brave things.
It was total chaos.
Now, at that time, 1974, we were all John Wayne.
We came to work the next day and we didn't talk about it. And we never talked about it.
I received a dispatch call because there was a guy coming in buying between 10 and 15 tubes of model airplane glue.
It's a fairly low-profile call at the time.
And I'm sitting outside in the patrol car of the grocery store, and this guy comes walking in, and he goes inside.
Constable Gregorash Harvey had spotted him, and he had fled.
He started running, and I chased him, and there was a gentleman on the street. He says, I watched him, and he went right into that garage over there.
He was asking for backup, and immediately there was a patrol car from downtown.
Constable Tom Dick and Mel Lynn came to assist me.
And then Sergeant Ben Robinson also said, I'll be over. And so I thought, okay, he'll be all right.
Tom Dick opened the window and says, come on out, we just want to talk to you. And the guy hollered, I'm not coming out, you come in and get me.
Well, back in those days, that's what you did. You got an invitation to come and get you. Well, we'll come in and get you.
So Mel Lynn went in one door, Tommy went in the windows, opened the door for me, and I went in the other door.
And so now they're in the garage, and now things start to go wrong.
Mel Lynn hollered, he's got a rifle. And as soon as I heard that, I grabbed my radio, I hollered, this is a code red man with a rifle. All of a sudden I could see him, and he's got the rifle at me. And next thing you know, it's hard to explain, but you didn't hear the bang. You didn't hear nothing. All you could see was a puff of smoke.
I was attending a meeting with Chief Brian Sawyer, and some individual come running in and said, Chief, you've got to get out here. We have a shooting of some kind.
I run into Ernie Hetherington, who is my boss in support, and he told me that there was a big shootout taking place over in southeast Calgary.
We got a radio call that this, as is known now, Code 300 was going on.
And as we're going down the hall, there's a frantic call come in. We're running out of ammunition, we're pinned down, we have no ammo, someone get ammo. So I ran back to the property room, and I got a couple of cases of 38 Special.
I remember Boyd Davidson with a shotgun running down the hallway, almost bowling me over as he went out the door. And then somebody asked me, what are you doing here? It's on your zone, and it's one of your guys. And so I went back out also.
And then the next thing you know, there was policemen coming all over the place for help, and thank God.
We'd only been there a few minutes.
I'm starting to get worried. This doesn't look good at all.
All of a sudden, there was a concussion, and I felt it, and it backed me up, and I got this spray in my eyes, and Bev had taken a high-caliber round.
I couldn't believe that this could actually happen. I thought this just happened in movies, perhaps.
And as soon as I saw what had happened to Bev, I thought, this is really serious, because if Bev hadn't had that suit of bomb armor on, he'd have been totally dead right there on the spot. There's no question about it in my mind.
And then things just went from bad to worse after that.
I see Nicky Graham come running up to the police car that had been left there by the first constables.
I'm looking and I'm thinking, geez, Nick, don't do that. And he gets up and he's peeking out. Boom. The bad guy shot. And Nick's head went back, and a giant plume of bright red blood come flying off his head, and down he went. And I thought, oh my God, he's dead.
I saw Ben Robinson come up and put himself over top of Nicky Graham.
And I can still hear Benny hollering, Nick, you son of a bitch, don't die, Nick, don't die. Oh, Nick, you son of a bitch, don't die.
It was just, well, it was upsetting that you could watch this, and yet that guy was still in there.
I said to Roy, this has to stop. This has to stop. They just killed Nick Graham. And fortunately, he didn't die. He lived to be a good old age. He was an Irishman. You couldn't kill him by shooting him in the head, that's for sure.
He had a plan to kill a police officer.
There was a volley of shots that came from the garage.
There was commotion, and I heard somebody say out, and I don't know who it was, Boyd Davidson's been shot.
When Tom Dick and his partner had gone in, they saw him with a .22 rifle. We didn't know, nor did they at that time, that they also had a .30-06.
I was a fortunate one. I only got a graze, but some people got it right through the hand. Some people got it in the head, like Kit got it in the neck.
I knew that I was going to the ground, and when I saw the blood, I was worried. I thought, oh shit. Roy had come running over at that particular time, and I said, you know, get a pad, get something and put on this hole. Hey, he couldn't find anything, so I told him to stick his finger in the hole and keep it there until we were able to get out. And he probably saved my life. I suppose one could say God was looking down on me at that day.
We're hearing something on the radio about a tank coming down.
There's 3 or 4 other military policemen there when they received a phone call from the city police.
Until that army machine showed up, we were just stuck with the little bit of weaponry we had, which wasn't a hell of a lot.
I was a senior person there, so I grabbed a machine gun and I met the armored personnel carrier at the gate. City police were there to escort us. It was just like time flew. One moment we're at Curry Barracks, the next moment we're at the scene.
He comes up the lane in this armored personnel carrier, and he does a hard right turn,
I couldn't see it, but I heard this huge roar.
and boom, he drives right inside, and then in reverse and out again.
And the building shook, and after a second or two, there was another huge roar, and the building shook.
And then they said, go right through it if you can.
The driver went right through the bloody garage.
Just like a rearing horse, and the tracks were spinning. There was wood flying, there was shingles flying, and it just blew the one corner right out of that garage.
At this point, I had not fired a shot. And I had my gun out, and I get down on one knee, and I'm braced beside the building. And I look up, and I could see the door move. I could just barely see that door move. And I shouted to the guys. I shouted something about, he's coming out, get ready.
He had a rifle in each hand at the hip, and as he ran, he was firing to the police officers that were to the south of him, and I lifted that shotgun and I shot through those 2 panes of glass.
And it just stood the man right up straight. And he froze in midair for a second. And I was able to gently squeeze one shot off. And you know, my emotions were unbelievable. I was flat. There was no feeling. There was no fear. There was no nerves. I was just flat.
Well, Boyd was a bit of a legend.
Boyd was not tall, but he was wide. He was 320 pounds.
And they said he was a marvel to watch kick down a door because most guys back up and hit it with their foot. Well, Boyd, he had this great big barrel of a chest.
But he could run.
Faster than anybody you could think of, and he'd hit that door and it would just disintegrate. He would bulldoze that door down.
And he would be the perfect guy to be the office Santa Claus, because he was built like that. And he had a twinkle in his eye and a nice smile. And
if something was going on and you needed somebody, Boyd would be there to help.
Policing was everything to him. So no surprise that he would have been the first to be out there with a shotgun.
One hell of a detective. Good man, good person.
God, he'd be a perfect grandfather. And he never lived to be that grandfather. But I think about that often enough, yeah.
Boyd was a Superman. He really was. Yep.
Damn it, he was such a nice guy, and he had a wife and children that loved him so much. And he didn't have to die. There was nothing to be gained by Boyd dying. That hurts me. That really hurts. But maybe by him dying, maybe we prevented in some way another dozen men being shot, or God only knows what.
So I left and I went back, turned in my stuff at the station and at the headquarters, and went over to the garage and resumed my duties and worked till 11 o'clock that night as the sergeant in the garage. And that's pretty much the way the day went for me.
I saw my wife's car come into the driveway. I can remember walking through the kitchen into the entranceway, and she come in, and she looked at me. She said, "Are you okay?" "Oh yeah, I'm okay. Not to worry. I'm okay." And she come up the stairs, and I grabbed her, and the two of us stood there. and cried and cried and cried. We figured that was the end for us.
I went back to work the next day. I had to. I couldn't sit at home and stew about it. And like the inspector did tell me, he says, you're better off to come back to work because if you don't, you'll probably end up quitting. And I'm glad I did.
It was a harrowing experience, really, but I guess one could say not only I, but the police department at that particular time learned a world of things to do, the information that was gained.
This sort of incident should never happen again in this city because you've got some of the finest here to protect you with the training and the equipment they got. And I think that's the best thing that came out of this.
Knowing what went through in those days past and how much things have progressed over the years, the difference between then and now is like day and night. And today, with the training, it's daylight.
In 40 years, it's changed for one hell of a lot better than what it ever used to be.
And then now, look what they got on this force now. They're probably the best TAC team you can find in the world. At least in Canada, for sure. You know. And I'm sure proud of being a part of it. Yeah.
Looking back, I can say that I truly loved my job.
I'm part of this huge family called the police service.
Every day was a big adventure. Yeah, it used to be an imposition to take a day off because, man, I loved what I was doing.
I could never leave Calgary. A lot of police officers leave Calgary after they retire. I could never leave.
I wish I was 20 years old. I would dash down and sign up and do it all over again.
But has this been a good career? Oh, yes, it has.